Welcome to the Big Change the Film interview series, and my name is Jason Cohen. I personally have lost over 120 pounds, and every week I chat with inspiring individuals who've also lost significant amounts of weight, hear their stories, and pass along some of that inspiration. The total pounds lost, including today's guest, is now up to, and is still at, 12,637 pounds. This week's an exciting week as it's actually our 100th episode. I never had an idea whenever I first started this that this would grow and that I would be 100 episodes in, that there would be over 12,000 pounds lost between all of my guests, and that this would be such an incredible journey for myself and get to hear so many people's incredible stories. So first off, I just appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody who's shared their stories so far, and looking forward to what the future holds. Can't wait, and just want to say thanks again for getting me this far. There's a couple ways that you can help support the interview series if you've been enjoying it. The first way is free, and that's to rate us on iTunes. That helps others to find out about what I'm doing, hear these inspiring stories, and just helps get the word out. The second way to help support what I'm doing is through the website. I do sell t-shirts at bigchangethefilm.com. They're $20 plus $5 for shipping, and 100% of the proceeds from those sales goes towards the production of this interview series and the film itself. This week's guests are a couple guests that you might already know, and they're Tim and Heather Kaufman. If you're not familiar with their story, it is incredible. Tim used to be 400 pounds. He was on the highest dose of fentanyl, would drink a liter of vodka a night, could hardly walk up the stairs. Now he regularly rides 100 miles, did a 50-mile run. Heather herself has an incredible story, has lost 85 pounds, and she's now an incredible runner, oftentimes placing first in her age group during races. And they've just come a really long way. They're an incredible couple. They're a huge testament to what you can do if you put your mind to it and you decide to put your body and your health first. So again, thanks so much for getting me this far for 100 episodes. I look forward to 100 more. Thanks Heather and Tim for telling their story, and I hope that you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Tim and Heather Kaufman. We know each other through a bunch of different ways, and the reason we're having this conversation today is because today is the 100th episode. And the very first episode of this podcast, this interview series, was actually with Tim, and then had the pleasure of interviewing Heather later. And as I was thinking about what to do for the 100th episode, it just dawned on me that they've come so far. I had an opportunity to interview them, Tim over a year ago, and Heather probably somewhere around then. They've lost so much weight since we first talked, since we first filmed at their house. And so I thought it'd be a good way to kind of celebrate 100 episodes. It's been over 12,000 pounds lost between everybody, and in a lot of ways it kind of started, with Josh, with Tim, and kind of that group, and it's become this amazing thing, and here we are today. So Tim and Heather, thanks for the time. Thanks for chatting with us. For those who might not be familiar with you, maybe we could just start off with where you guys live and how much you guys have lost, because you've both lost a tremendous amount of weight.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. It's a crazy, huge honor.
Thank you.
To be the 100th episode. So that's super exciting, super honored. So thanks for that. And thanks for all you do, for real.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can start and tell where we are.
We're from Alden, New York.
Which is by Buffalo.
About 20 miles from Buffalo. And I've lost over 85 pounds.
And I've lost around 200, so
280, a little over 285 together.
But I think you've lost a few more than 85, but okay.
I said over 85.
Oh, over 85. Okay, so that's cool.
That's
and
awesome.
I actually think the last time, if I'm not mistaken, we talked 2 years ago. I think the interview was 2 years ago, wasn't it? The first interview?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And, when I look back at old footage from both of y'all, things that I noticed off the bat, obviously your bodies have changed, dramatically. Also, kind of your status in this world, or your influence, or the amount that you give to this world, to the, showing people what's possible, to the plant-based community has changed drastically. When we first met, your story was out there, but in kind of different contexts. Since then, you've become ambassadors for marathons, and you've been on TV shows, and a lot has changed for you guys in the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. It's exciting. I don't think we really wanted it. But yeah, you were actually the first podcast interview that I ever did. And I know one thing that's changed a lot is a lot more of my story has kind of come out because I was really apprehensive because you were kind of creepy. It was just a very awkward thing to talk about like this stuff, and you were the first person that I had ever talked about it with, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and just for context, when we first met, we got connected through Josh. I heard y'all's story. I heard your story, Tim, and was amazed at what you had done. And then it just goes to show you. And I think one of the reasons why doing this interview together, but also doing a second interview later, kind of intrigued me is because I know for a lot of people they may be pretty far on their journey. But they may seem like, no matter how far they've come, they still have so far to go. And I think both of you guys are kind of a testament to, if you would have stopped where you were 2 years ago, everyone would have still been amazed. But you guys have kind of continued to push forward, to press on. Maybe let's just start and rewind a little bit for people who may not be as familiar with your stories individually. Kind of give me some context for where you were. Let's go back, 10, 15 years ago, because life looked a lot different for y'all.
Yeah, it sure did. So
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So basically, I don't want to get into the whole story. They can go back to the first episode and actually listen to it. But so basically, I was born with a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or I call it EDS. And that kind of started this downward spiral. I was diagnosed in my early 20s. And I think the biggest thing it did is having doctors tell me, basically I dislocate a lot and, stuff comes out of joint. So the doctor's protocol was do as little as you possibly can because your joints are going to get destroyed because they're always rubbing and grinding and they don't track properly. And the other big thing that happened is, along with, do as little as you possibly can, came in painkillers. And I have a really addictive personality. And so that kind of kicked this whole snowball thing off. And I will fast forward through the whole thing. But at my very worst, I was on a drug called fentanyl. It started with Lortab and kind of worked its way up through, Percocets and Oxycontin and all that stuff. And then I just kept needing more and more and more because I built up such a tolerance. And I can remember going on fentanyl, which I didn't know what fentanyl really was. Now it's all over the news and stuff and people kind of know what it is, but I had no clue. So I went on this drug called fentanyl, and that worked really well, super effective. It kind of numbed my pain. And then, I found alcohol, and that was a super, super fast downward slope for me, probably faster than anything. And then another opioid-like substance I found was fast food. I just loved it. It gave me that same kind of thing. And I think all these things were kind of just to escape reality, and that's what I was doing. And so to fast forward, at my very worst, I was on the max dose of fentanyl. I couldn't get any more of that. And just before bed, it was nothing for me to take about 15 pills and then drink an entire liter of vodka and just pass out and go to bed. And that just became my routine, along with stopping for fast food 3 and 4 times a day, pizza and wings and all the processed garbage. I found myself over 400 pounds. My metabolic numbers were crazy off the charts. I was really sick. In fact, I was sick enough that I got denied for bariatric surgery. Blood pressure 255 over 115, resting heart rate 125. I was dying. My kidneys were shutting down on occasion, and I was dying.
And then Heather, how much were you aware of at the time? As far as the pills, the alcohol, like, were you kind of aware of everything, or was some of it kind of in the closet?
Some things, yes. Some things I would argue with him a little bit about, that I would say, it's not time to get your prescription. It's not time for this. I was very, you go by what the bottle says, and that's that, and I knew some things, but I think I also just didn't want to know either. And, I had 2 young kids, so I kind of was having to take care of them and him. So, but I think sometimes you don't want to know too.
But I was also a master manipulator. I was in pain, like I was in legitimate pain.
Right.
And so I could play on her emotions. Like I was hurting. And that was probably like the crappiest thing I used to do was I couldn't go to the pharmacy, like hated seeing me walk through the door because I was miserable. And I knew how to play the system. I knew exactly what insurance companies would get away with, whether it's vacation or oops, I spilled my pills. Like I knew how to play the system, but they were on to me. They knew exactly what I was doing. So I would send her down thinking, well, they'll let her because it's not me and she's a lot prettier than I am. So, but I knew what I was doing. I knew how to manipulate her.
Yeah, and I think I've spent a bit of time with you guys, and as I hear you guys say it now, and I've been around y'all, and I've heard you talk. One thing that strikes me is that there's a deep love in Heather for you, and would do whatever she thinks would make you comfortable or life better or anything like that. So I have to think that at some level, like as weird as it says, there's probably some amount of love of preservation, or obviously if you're on that many pain meds, you need it, things like that. Is that kind of play into it?
Yeah, well, I remember when you talked to the doctor one time. I don't know if you remember it, but I was freaking out because she surprised me. We went into the doctor. We used to go to the doctor together a lot, because she was concerned. But I remember her telling my doctor one time, he's taking too much medicine. And I'm like, oh, crap, do not do this. Like, don't go there. And the doctor said, well, he's human. He wants to be out of pain. And I'm like, whew. Like, so it wasn't that, you weren't trying to, like, you kind of knew what was happening.
Right, but, I didn't want to see him be in pain and suffer, also, but I didn't think some things were right. Like, I didn't think he should be taking so much, and, there was a point where I said to him, I'm not doing this. This is what the prescription says. You're going to have to wait.
And another thing I was good at hiding, like, I could show her, like, she knew what I was doing, but I don't sometimes think you knew the extent, even with food. I would go down, and she hated, like, the breakfast sandwiches. That was my thing. My thing was, those. Like, biscuit and sausage and cheese, and I'd have them put extra cheese on there. But that was my thing, and I couldn't stand it. She didn't like them. How could you not like these? Like, and I would go down, like, on the weekend, because usually I would pick this stuff up on the way and back and forth from work. But I would go on the weekend and get like a bag of them. I would get like 5 of them, knowing that she's only going to eat 1. But I brought her 2 just in case. And then I would actually eat a couple. And on the way in, I would hide the wrappers in the garbage. So, she knew I was bringing home 4. I would eat hers, but she didn't know that I had already eaten some before. And then I like hid the evidence. And it was the same with the alcohol. I would wait till she went shopping, and then I would get the bottles out of the closet and hide them in the garbage, like right before garbage day. So, I mean, you kind of knew it was there, but I don't think you understood the quantity that was there.
And food-wise, I know we have a little bit of an idea, and you're kind of talking to it, but like, what were kind of the staples for you guys there towards the end? What did a typical week or a typical day look like for food for y'all?
Well, we'd eat out a lot during the week, the fastest stuff we could get, whether it was Burger King or pizza and wings all the time, box stuff for the kids in the morning, fastest. Like, I remember giving the kids Pop-Tarts. Here's your breakfast, out the door you go, and now I look back and see how many calories and how much junk is in there. I feel bad that I gave the kids that stuff for breakfast. Here, eat 2 packages, out the door you go. Sam lunches were not good for the kids, but I'd think, oh, well, I'd have a salad, so that'd be a good thing, if I'm eating a salad once a day. But, it was the easiest, fastest stuff, box stuff, frozen stuff
waffles
that we could make,
The little frozen danishes with the little sugar things that go on top, all that kind of stuff. Toaster strudels.
Tons of sugar cereal,
And then I know that again, some people are going to be familiar with your story, but give me an idea, physically where you were at the lowest of the low, and then we'll get to the happy stuff.
So, well, I mean, at 400 pounds, it's kind of a no-brainer that everything is hard. I mean, I always tell in my talks, like, that's the easy stuff for me to say, whatever you weigh, put the balance of 400 pounds on your back and walk up this, a flight of stairs, or, drop something on the ground and pick it up, or get in a vehicle at 400 pounds. I think people can kind of comprehend it. They might not be able to comprehend with you go to bed heavy and you wake up heavy. They might not understand it feels like a life sentence that you have with all this extra weight. But what is really hard to get people to relate with is the emotional stuff that goes with it. I was supposed to be this big tough guy, and she would be outside mowing the lawn, with two young kids, and I'm sitting in the house, and you don't feel like much of a man. I mean, I can remember even bringing groceries up. Like, I had enough trouble getting myself up the stairs with an arm on each side. I couldn't carry groceries up. So here she is again, with two kids hanging off her, trying to carry groceries up a couple steps at a time so she can get everything up. That hurts. That does a lot to you emotionally. It does a lot to your self-worth. I can remember thinking that if like Carolyn ever took off running towards Broadway, like I physically couldn't catch her to stop her from getting hit by a car. That stuff sucks. That stuff sucks when you're not able to. You want to be a good husband. You want to be a good father. You want to be a leader. But you can't do it. And then you add all these secrets that you have that you hope the kids don't, find a mug that's half full because you passed out the night before, or whatever. I mean, that stuff you're always kind of paranoid that somebody's going to find out, or, it's hard. It's a very, very hard place. But physically, with the EDS and the extra weight, most of the time, if I wasn't in crutches, I definitely needed some kind of support, whether it was a cane. And that was another thing that was super embarrassing. Always in cast and crutches, air cast, splints. I mean, you name it. I was usually waiting for MRIs or X-rays to come back, like weekly almost. Like it seemed like weekly. So yeah, parking was terrible. Even going back to school, I had to get a handicap pass or I couldn't make it into school on time. We couldn't go anywhere, really.
Yeah, we couldn't travel. We had friends that moved away, and we couldn't even travel or even go to visit his sister much because he'd be sick every time we'd get in the car to go anywhere.
I would throw up. I had so many drugs in my system that if you've ever taken painkillers, you get kind of, dizzy and almost like car sick. I would get in the car like that already in 15 minutes. Like we had to pull over. I mean, we had it down. Like I can remember you telling me when we got on the thruway, you got to wait. Like even before I was getting sick, you got to wait until I get off at this exit. Because we had to like time my throw ups. So yeah, I was in bad shape for sure.
Yeah, I was. We were both at PBNSG in Detroit, and I remember, we kind of tried to restage some pictures in some of the Henry Ford stuff, and just, I was struck by you could see. I remember you telling me that you guys had to like plan out in great detail where you were going to go, where things were, and then you could see in the pictures that we were looking out to reference how much of a strain, how much of a, for lack of a better term, it had been a workout for you to get to the place where just to sit down to take a picture.
Right. Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar, what happened? What changed? Because I mean, some of the highlights I think of when people ask me your story, I think of, you couldn't bend down to pick up a piece of chalk off the ground. Heather was putting on your shoes and socks. You guys both look different now. Heather, you just ran your 4th or 5th marathon. Tim, you're quite accomplished yourself in races and things like that. So obvious things have changed dramatically for you guys. What was the starting point?
Well, it's kind of cool, and it's kind of an awkward thing, but we both didn't kind of change together. It was kind of me for a couple of years, and then later on, but I'll let Heather talk about that. So, and I don't think it was this like switch that flipped for me. It was never this like, I know, I wish I had that story. I wish, I something happened in this, I went plant-based tomorrow, kind of thing, but it kind of didn't happen like that. I think the first thing that happened, like I kind of picture like dominoes all kind of tipping over. But the first thing that happened is I stumbled on gratitude, really. I don't know how else to explain it, but Heather's mom, we got married super young, if you don't know our story. We were high school sweethearts. Actually, we're coming up on 25th wedding anniversary in August. So we've been together. Thank you. We've been together quite a while. And because of that, we hung out at each other's houses. So super close relationships with both sides of the family. And Heather's mom was like the coolest lady in the world. Like, I remember, like, we were so poor. Like, I worked on a farm. We had no money at all. Like, Heather had this, like, cashier job. And it was time to start asking if we could get married, And I had no clue. I had never done this before, obviously. And so, at, like, 19 years old, right? And I remember, like, I talked to my parents and, like, wow, they give me this list of all these reasons. Well, you should do this and you should do this. And I remember, I don't even know if you remember this. I went to her mom and I'm like, thinking about getting married, but I don't know how the money thing's going to work. And she goes, well, you can be poor separately or you can be poor together. And it was like, do you remember that? Mm-hmm. It was like,
we took them out to dinner. I don't even know. Probably Pizza Hut.
Yeah, and then we took them out. Fancy dinner, right? Pizza Hut. But yeah, that's the kind of person she was. She was just like so cool. She treated me like one of her own, really. She loved life. She was fun. But she had like the flu or something for a little while. And after like 2 weeks, we're like, there's something more than just a flu happening. So we took her to the doctor and they did some blood work and it was super fast. Like they found out right away that she had leukemia. Which was a huge upset in our life. Like we never dealt with anything like this. I mean, we were still kind of young. I mean, so long story short, we started spending a lot of time in cancer hospitals and it was hard. Like Heather's afraid of elevators, petrified of them. So like we'd have to go to the second floor. She would usually take the stairs. And of course, I couldn't take the stairs, so I'm up in the elevator. But, there was a lot of little things that happened, and a few of the little things added up to big things. And one of them was her mom was so tired. The chemo was just knocking her out. Her immune system was shot. And I remember one day coming up to her, and she was sound asleep, and she opened her eyes super slow, and she's like, how's your knee? And, like, that one question, like, it made me feel so sick. Like it killed me because here she's worrying, about my knee when we don't even know if she's going to live through the night. And I thought, man, I'm an idiot. I'm walking out of the hospital that night and I'm thinking I have this pity party, 24 hours. I'm always bitter. I used to complain. If I just had new legs, like all this would go away. And, here there's people in the hospital. I'm going home that night and there's people that, they would do anything to walk out of there with my legs, and they wouldn't complain about it. There's people that, have tumors in their legs and they're going to get their leg amputated. And I'm worried that my knees hurt. So they were screwed up. They hurt, but I still had legs. And things like that kind of just started hitting me. And I guess when you are around people that are worse off than you start realizing that life maybe isn't as bad as you're making it out to be. And you do have a lot to be thankful for. So I think gratitude was kind of the first domino that tipped. My father also At the same time we were dealing with that, my father was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and he was my best friend in the whole world. He was given 6 months to live by the doctors, and he made it 6 weeks, and we buried him. And again, that does, it really kind of woke me up, and like, this life is fast, it's short, we're not promised tomorrow. And do I want to spend tomorrow complaining about what I don't have, what I want, or do I want to spend tomorrow being thankful for what I've been blessed with? And that was a huge game changer. It came at a heavy price, but I think it's a big catalyst to what came next.
So what came next?
Well, you already kind of alluded to the socks and shoes thing. It was hard because we had this. I mean, I guess we had what we considered a normal life. It probably, looking back, it wasn't that normal,
Right.
but it was normal to us. It was normal that I put 100% energy in getting to work and getting home, and then like punching out, like clocking out. Like I did what I was capable of doing for the day, and I was done. A lot of movies, a lot of pizza and wings. Sports. We made it to the kids' sports practice, and I could move the folding chair to the side of the field. But that was kind of our normal. And then all of a sudden, you lose two of your favorite people in the world, and life's not too normal anymore. And it's painful. And so I knew, like, after we had buried Dad, and then her mom. There's a lot of planning, a lot of work and stuff, and something hit me one day when she was putting my socks and shoes on me, and like I thought, I'm next. Like I can't keep doing this. And actually, one of my friends asked me, he goes, "Where is this gonna end?" And like that one question, I couldn't stop thinking about, where's it gonna end? And I knew where it was gonna end. I could not keep taking the amount of pills, the amount of food. I couldn't keep getting heavier, and I couldn't keep getting sicker without something happening. And honestly, like, thinking about that, I just wanted to if I could just put space in between funerals, that would be good. Because this is inevitable. I mean, if I'm having trouble walking around at 35 years old, like, what's life going to look like in 5 years or 10 years or even 20 years? I mean, I'm a young guy, and I knew something had to end. And so I literally was just trying to hang on longer so we didn't have to go through all the planning and all that kind of stuff again. So yeah, so what I did is I figured I need to do something. So I went online and did some research, and I found this bariatric surgery. So that was my answer. And everything was going to be fixed. I was going to sign up for the surgery, had everything in order, all ready to go. And all I had to do was get my doctor to stamp off on it. Like, it was a rubber stamp, done deal. And he wouldn't do it. So I was in trouble. You were happy about that, though.
Yeah. So I didn't want him to have the surgery. I personally didn't think he'd make it through it. And I was afraid for him.
Yeah.
And I was glad his doctor said no.
I could sell her just about, because I was a master manipulator. Like, that's what I did. Like, I was really good at it. And I could not sell this one. I just couldn't do it. Like, I would show her videos of like 400-pound people running marathons in a year, and like, just weren't having it.
No.
Yeah. So I think I did what most people do. I started, trying to cut calories. The best thing that happened during that is I at least became aware of what I was eating. Because I started writing stuff down. I kept a little journal where I would write down what I ate. And I think that was a huge thing. I did everything wrong, except I actually cared about what was going in my mouth. Where before I didn't. Before I kind of hid from it. Like, I'm lying to myself. Like, I'll have 3 burgers and tell myself I just stopped for a burger, right? So that was good. I switched out like hamburgers for turkey burgers, and instead of cheddar cheese, I'd eat mozzarella cheese, and it worked. I mean, at 400 pounds, pretty much anything you do works. So I did the regular American diet, and yeah, it took some weight off.
And then I think, eventually you got to a place where finding out about, actual whole foods, you started taking away breakfast sandwiches, adding bananas. How long did that take from you to get from, I can't do bariatric surgery, I got to eat turkey burgers, till you actually got a little further down? And then, I think eventually you ended up with a juicer, and that really changed a trajectory of things for you. How long did you have in that kind of exploratory phase?
I don't really know. Everyone asks dates, and if I say a date, then I get corrected later that my dates are off. You know what? If I would have known what was going to happen, I would have wrote all this stuff down, and I would have it all laid out. But it was kind of like looking back, it's kind of a blur. And I think the thing is, I was searching. Like, I was searching for something, and I didn't know what that something was, but I was searching for it. And just as simple as logging my food, like I knew I had to do something. Like I knew, let's put it this way: at least for the first time in my life, I recognized that I had some kind of a decision to make. I had some kind of a choice, and I had some kind of say in an outcome, and I didn't know what the outcome was. But because I was open to like searching and at least trying, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the film, came on, and the only reason why I watched it is because the title sounded just like me. And so I didn't know what I was getting into, and it's probably a good thing because there's a good chance we wouldn't be talking right now. Because I had no, like, I'm telling you, like, that my meat consumption was through the roof. Like, I could do the better part of a bucket of chicken wings in. Like, that's 50 if you don't know that. Like, I could easily do that. Meat was my life. That's what we did. I smoked my own bacon. I made my own sausages and all that kind of stuff. So when Joe Cross comes on TV, it never occurred to me what was going in the juicer. I just knew that I wanted his results. I knew that over 60 days, and maybe that's another thing that intrigued me was how fast he got results. I like that. So I ordered the juicer, and long story short, I started getting better. I started feeling better. I started sleeping better. I started, sleeping through the night and forgetting to take medicine and things like this. And I felt great. And because I watched that, Forks Over Knives popped up in my newsfeed, and that was a game changer for me. Because it showed me I could eat what I was putting in the juicer, and then add the whole grains and stuff. And I had lived 30 days without meat or dairy, so I figured I might survive another 30,
And Heather, what's going on in your mind at this point? As he's got his juicer, and I think eventually you realized that a 1 pound bag of carrots wasn't enough, so you were getting 50-pound bags of carrots.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just kind of went with it, with him. I figured, well, we'll see how long it goes. I didn't know how long he'd continue to do it. And I didn't know, how he'd feel, if he'd get better. I knew he'd lose weight from juicing, but then he started eating, he stopped with the juicing and went into eating whole foods. And, I could see he was getting better, but I still, I felt that I was healthy, because I'd have salads, or I'd have, I wasn't eating much meat then anyways. I wasn't ever really a big meat eater, but, we'd still have pizza and wings, me and the kids, and he'd be making his food, and then we'd start sampling his food. And, it was good, and I was never a real good cook, and I didn't like cooking, so he was doing it all. So, we were transitioning a little bit at time. And
now that you said that, I never actually thought of this. Like, looking back, before, when I started logging my food, we had this one place we'd go like almost every Friday. What's the name of the place? Can we say the name of the place?
They're probably not in business anymore because you guys haven't been in years.
It was Pizza Supreme.
Yeah, and they were awesome. But they had this deal, because I was always looking for deals. They had this deal that you could get a large pizza, 20 wings, and then you get like salad bar.
Yeah, salad bar, yeah.
So like I was heading towards healthy, so I think I ditched the chicken wings because I knew those were super bad. But I'd still eat the pizza, but then I go hit the salad bar, and it was all like no greens or no leaves at all, but it was like cottage cheese, and I don't
Chopped
know.
ham.
Well, no, I would stay away from that, but I did like a lot of the black olives, and then everything was covered in blue cheese dressing and like Chinese noodles. But the thing was, like, again, like I was at least heading that way, and then when I went plant based, we still would go there,
Hmm.
and the kids would get the family pack, and I would go to the salad bar, and I would eat much different. And there was probably oil in the dressings. Like I was choosing more like a balsamic, but I was doing really well, and I would eat a lot of food, and the kids would steal like
Hmm.
because by that point we wouldn't get the four salad bars, we would
Hmm.
get one for me, and then the kids are stealing off my plate. But that's kind of how it transitioned. It was kind
And
of
then we were
cool.
doing veggies on the pizza. We were transitioning that way.
Yeah.
And then I had a medical issue, and I had to have surgery. And the day after the surgery, I had to have a total hysterectomy. I told Tim that, sorry, if I could do anything to take care of myself, whatever I put in my body, that I wanted to take care of myself. I wanted to be healthy. It just brought back so many memories of my mom being in the hospital and all the procedures being done to her, that I did not want to be in a hospital. And if I could take care of myself and give myself the right foods, that I wanted to be plant-based. I did not want to do anything else but eat healthy and be healthy.
And I get the impression that it did. I know dates are a little rusty, but I get the impression that it took a while for, like, this was not an overnight thing. This took months or years. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I had gotten rid of the meat, and we actually ended up getting rid of meat. And even for the kids, I said, I'm just not going to really buy meat anymore. I might, I wouldn't fix any meat or anything like that. So if we went out, they'd get maybe chicken wings or chicken fingers, but I wouldn't have it. And
But I mean, for a while, I would make like a plant-based dish for me. Like I would do like beans and rice and corn, and then for a little while, we would just have a pack of like boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I would chop up in there. And then finally, when it like I don't know what happened, like I couldn't stand cooking it anymore, even though I wasn't eating it. And then I said to you, I'm like, if you want it, you put it in there. And then it kind of that solved that problem real quick.
right, but then that's when after
Right,
being in the
right. But I'm
hospital,
talking
that's
about
when we got
before. I'm talking
involved.
about
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I'm just reminiscing. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and it strikes me that you guys are kind of, many people would look at you and say you've arrived, or you both look extremely thin. You're doing all these things, but even for you guys, with where you're at now, it seems like it did take a while. It took a lot of small steps, a lot of single days, saying no to one meal or yes to something to get where you're at. It wasn't an overnight success by any means.
That's still
Right,
the truth.
right.
Like that's still like that's as true today as it was 5, 6 years ago. Like there's cashews in the cupboard right now. Like and your cheats or whatever you want to call them are different now. Your bad days look different than they used to, but you're never done. And I think the day you say you've arrived and you're done, you're gonna lose. Like you're gonna lose, and that's why the majority of people that lose weight go back. You can't be done. Like this is a journey, and in my mind, any journey that's worth going on doesn't have an end. Like it can't. It can't. You're always constantly trying to learn more, get better. I still have a ways to go. Like I know I do.
And then, physical, as we can see behind you in the articles and the medals, physical activities played a huge part in y'all's journey and kind of really in the what takes up your relationship now these days. So how did that develop? Because I'm thinking you go from she's outside mowing the lawn, you're inside, not able to do anything. Now you guys are running races together, in a similar thing that didn't happen overnight. So how did the physical side of things kind of develop over time?
I've never done this before, but I want to say I can sum it up with two requests. One, she asked me to go for a walk, and then later down the road, I asked her to go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. Like, that's how simple it was. It sounds crazy, but she wanted to go for a walk one day, and like, I wanted to say, "Are you freaking crazy? Can you look at me? Like, I don't walk." Or what happened to the car? But we went for a walk, and it was an epic failure. Like, it was a failure. I didn't make it. I just couldn't keep going, so I had to get picked up. It was a mess, but I kept going back, and I would heal up, go back, and then I started hiking and just enjoying life. It wasn't, see, I almost hate talking about this stuff because people look at Heather now. You look like the way you do because you run all the time, and that's not it. Like, that's not,
I don't run every day either.
Yeah, but I mean, your body's super smart. When you burn calories, you get hungry. Like, that's how we were designed to work. Like, it's not rocket science. Yeah, when I get done with a 10-mile run, I come home starving. If I don't go for a 10-mile run, I'm not going to be as hungry. Like, nature has us figured out. And so people see us now and how active we are. That was not always like that. It's relatively new, actually.
I even remember when we first got bikes, and you didn't make it halfway down the road and threw it in the ditch because you hated the bike.
Yeah.
But you went back, and I think that's the thing, not giving up and pursuing what you want to do, no matter what it is.
And realizing that the physical activity, to me, just like weight loss, and this is a really different concept to try to make people understand, but the physical activity and the weight loss are just symptoms of being healthy. Like, everyone tries to put this whole thing backwards, and you can't do that. When you're healthy, you get bored from sitting around. Like, I can't, like, we try to watch movies. I can't remember, like, the last time I was able to sit and watch a movie. And we used to do marathons. Like, we would get up in the morning, like, we wouldn't move all day and just do movie after movie. But we can't do it now because, like, we're bored. And we didn't, like, lose weight because we ran 5Ks. We lost weight because we learned how to eat healthy. We got educated on it. The weight came off, and then we had so much energy that we want to be outside and enjoying these beautiful days. And that's something that I can't make people understand that. I don't know why. But anyways, back to your question. So I started walking more and more, and I love the outdoors. I was an avid hunter. But hunting even changed for me. Where I used to love to walk the woods, I got to the point where I would get on a four-wheeler. I would drive to my tree stand, park, and like do little walking. Always had a chair strapped on my back. Where now I could go back, and instead of hunting, I could just spend the day walking through the woods, and I love that. Like, I love that. No restrictions, just walk. And we started walking, like, every weekend. Me and my friend would go just hiking. And hikes started turning into 10 and 15 miles. And then, I don't know, then I asked you to go run a 5K. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was hard. It was a hard race.
Mm-hmm.
And Heather, I'm curious, as Tim has this crazy new idea to put everything in a juicer, and he starts losing weight, and then he has crazy ideas to go climb mountains. What were your thoughts because it sounds to me like Tim comes up with crazy idea, comes home, tells you what the crazy idea, and then and I don't think it's limited to the things we're talking about. What were your thoughts as he started moving?
I was happy for him. I was glad that he was getting out and hiking and going and doing things. It made me feel good that he was taking care of himself and that he was able to do these things, because it did not seem possible before. It was good. I was glad to see him moving and glad to see him doing things, and that we could actually walk, or he was actually starting to want to ride a bike and do things like that. And with even with our kids. And then I remember one time we took, after you had started this, I think we took the kids, or our daughter, I can't remember who, we went out to some park, just took bikes and walked and rode bikes and did stuff at this state park, and it was so nice to be able to do those things. And I was happy for them.
You know, before when we were talking about what life was like before, and I talked about the emotional part, I've never actually talked about this before. I felt like an idiot because she's out mowing the lawn, and I was kind of like, I almost felt helpless to be a part of carrying groceries up and stuff. But you made me think about like just little stuff. You said you probably don't even remember saying this stuff, but we'd be at the park or something, or Darien Lake or whatever, and I can remember like she would say something like, "Man, I can't hardly keep up with you anymore."
Yeah.
And I was just like that, like it made me feel so good, like I just hung on to that, like she couldn't keep up with me. And or when she'd say, I'm tired, I gotta sit down, I'm like, what did you do? Like that made like
even when you would work with me in the summer, I'd be like, you'd be at the bottom of the stairs waiting for me to finish doing my work downstairs, and you were already up the stairs, back down the stairs, and I'm still doing my work downstairs, and it was the opposite way.
Yeah, she has a commercial cleaning business, and we would do 24 buildings in a day, and I used to actually time my prescriptions to when we went to work because I had to be like numb to work. And then I
in my pocket for you.
Yeah, and then I'd make her hold them so I wouldn't take them all when we got there. Like she'd have to hold them for me, and I'm like, okay, at 11 o'clock, then you can give me the rest of them. And then I can remember it got to the point where like I could do these all again. Like, and yeah, that made me feel good too because I was being a better provider and I was helping, and that made me feel just as good as it did feel bad before.
Just a little more on the physical thing. You guys have taken that one failed walk in that first 5K, and kind of turned the knob up a bit. What has it been about the running, the walking, the biking, whatever it is that you've continued to up your mileage, you continue to challenge yourself. What has it been that continues to drive you today? Even if you would have just done that 5K, you'd have been so much further along than anyone would have expected. But you didn't stop there. You kept pushing. You kept going for more. What do you think it is, for both of you guys individually, that has kept you seeking more?
I'm glad you asked individual because I think we're going to have different answers, and neither one of us is right or wrong. But I think our perspective is a little different on that. So why don't you start?
For me, it was. I didn't think I could ever do these kind of things. So after I got into doing the 5Ks, that was good. That was nice. Then when I saw that he was able to do the half marathons, I thought, well, if he can do it, I guess I could do it, So why don't you help me do that? So I did the half marathon with him. And then I saw him do the full marathon, and I was like, well, I guess if he could do it, why can't I do it? And it's just been this thing where I've just wanted to challenge myself to see what I can do. I don't like the biking. I don't like the swimming. But I really have found a love in running, and I just really enjoy it. And I just like to see how far I can go. I mean, I might stop at marathons, or I might stop at whatever the next 50 miler is, and maybe back down and go back into running 5Ks. But I've been trying to just set different goals, and I have some things that I think I want to accomplish, and, seeing that it's possible to push yourself and to do things. And I don't know, I just enjoy seeing where I can go and what I can do now, because I never thought I could jog a mile even.
And looking at the outside, like, to see, it is very, like, yesterday was, like, it was the hardest thing ever. Like, I wish I was out on the course dying because I was tracking her, and I only ran the half yesterday. And, like, to see, like, knowing she's struggling, and even when we're running, like, when she's pushing herself, it's so hard for me not to say, just stop, I can't take it anymore, just stop. Like, but at the same time, like, seeing her go through a finish line is like, it's like magic. Like, and it's not for me. Like, I can see she's just glowing because she accomplished something that she set out to do. And like, I think that's what brings you back all the time, because to see that what you think you weren't capable of, you got it, you did it. And you walk, I mean, I know you're short, but you walk a lot taller than you used to walk.
But it's not easy. It's not easy to do these things, and you have to work at it. And, I was upset towards the end, after it was all over with. I was kind of mad that I had to stop and walk and that I wasn't feeling good. But, you push yourself and you push through, and you don't give up. You just push through and accomplish the goal that you've set, and it makes you feel better. And to show other people that maybe they never thought that they could do this, that it is possible for them to do it. And they don't have to like running. They can walk and challenge themselves to walk as far as they want, or to bike. Maybe they just like to bike, but just to have some type of exercise that they like to do, and how they'll feel after, and that they'll be healthy.
Yeah.
And then Tim, what's it been for you? What kept you going after that first walk?
Well, I mean, a big part of it is like the goal setting and the self-worth. And I think I spend so much of my life like, and I'm okay, you know this better than anyone. Like, I still have issues with, being self-defeated, and I don't really call it self-loathing anymore, but but I spent a lot of my life just like, I could tell you everything that was wrong with me, like everything sucked. So when I do accomplish something like, something that seems impossible, like a 50-mile ultra, and you do that and you think, well, how many people in the world have actually run 50 miles? That makes me feel good about myself. But then there's that little voice, well, you could have done it a lot faster. And I think that's, I like, as runners and stuff, I think, that's kind of a balance that we bring, because we don't want to rest on our laurels. We don't want to be complacent because we think we've arrived. We want to get to the next level. And I think for me, like, running, that's a big part of it. And probably I had more of that when I started. And honestly, I'm really focusing on getting away from that whole crushing goals and grinding and that daily, like, discipline. And I'm trying to go back to where this all started. And because honestly, I have a couple injuries right now that I'm working through. And I think it's actually a blessing. I can't log a bunch of miles like I used to. I'm slowing down because I have some ankle issues, and it's taken me back to where I started, and I'm really able to focus on being grateful. I like to be out there because for a long time, like, I couldn't, like, it was not only a dream, it was an impossibility. Like, I get mad at myself because like yesterday, I walked most of a half marathon, and my finish time was like a 2:34, and I'm so angry. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I legit ran my guts out to get like a 3:20, and here I'm just taking a walk. And so, when I look at the perspective, if it's a mile, if it's half, I'm just happy to be out there. And I also realize that a lot of people will give anything to just take a walk. So for me, it's almost a way, like, it's almost like a prayer of thanksgiving when I'm out there. For me, I'm a little more spiritual out there than I used to be, just because I'm grateful, and that's a big part for me. And I like the challenge too, and I like the community, and I like the idea that I can go out and clear my head when everything's kind of going crazy. I can leave everything at home and just, even on the bike, just get away, check out, and it's just me and my thoughts. Call it meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. It's just alone time. And I think we're missing that in society. We need that, like, disconnect. And I think it needs to be a routine thing, and training does that. Training kind of, especially like a regimented training plan, you have to check out for 4 days a week, and I think that's really good. 4 times a week, I should say. 4 days is a bit much, but yeah.
Yeah, Jen and I, my wife and I were actually talking earlier. I told her I was interviewing you guys, and the thought occurred to me, not to put the attention on you, Tim, but you could quite possibly, for the age of yourself, be the most physically active person with Ehlers-Danlos, maybe in the world. I don't know anybody else who has the issues you had, that you have, and who've come back from it to get to where you are now. So, even if you have a couple hiccups along the way, you have a couple, swollen ankles or misaligned feet, it's still a far place from that handicapped parking space you were in before.
Right, and I think that I lost that. Like I lost, and I don't think I lost it on purpose, but I got I don't want to say overconfident, but everything became so routine that it was like, I have a 20-mile run this weekend, and it just happened. And I kind of took it for granted. Like, I took it for granted what used to happen. I mean, like, even the hiking. Like, I have a bag. I was just in the bag today, actually. Sort of found that Cliff Bar, by the way. But I was just in a bag. I was in a bag today, and it still has, ace bandages, medical tape, pre-wrap, heat, the break open. Like, I had all this stuff, knowing that when I went out, like, I was not going to come home in the same shape that I left. Like it was, you hike on Saturday and you spend 7 days trying to heal up what you ruined so you could do it again. And this was very routine. Mm-hmm. And I forgot about that. I took all that stuff for granted, and I just was on this thing where I was training. Nothing bad was going on. And then all of a sudden these ankle things pop up, and I'm getting MRIs. And my physical therapist looked at it, and she just started laughing. And I'm like, what would you possibly laugh? Like, why would you do that? But she goes, I've never seen so many things wrong with, like, it's lists, it's pages. And I got scared. And I got really scared. Like, I broke down on the trail because you try to ignore this stuff. Like, it's there, like, whatever, I'm just going to keep going on. And then eventually you look down and it's like, I can't put weight on my foot. It feels like I'm walking on a glass. Like, I can't ignore it. Like, I can't push through it. And I've been scared. Like, for the past couple months, I've been scared. And I found out I'm not scared of where it's going. Like, what I'm afraid of is, what if it's my last run that I ever do? What if it's the last mile I ever run? And I've really been sorting this out, and the fear is, will I be bitter because I don't have any more, or will I be grateful for that last run? And then, like, it's a really deep thing, and I don't have time to explain it, but I need to change my attitude that if this is my last run, do I waste that run being bitter on what's wrong with me, or do I just take every ounce I can in and be thankful for that last run? And that's where I'm at now, and I'm working on that. I'm working on it hard.
And I think probably for all of us, what is always a struggle is the thing, what do you find your identity in? Do you find your identity in the running, in the medals, in the races, in the goals, in the plants, in the, the things that are all great, and can provide wonderful things, but, at the end of the day are not really what life is about, especially when you consider the perspective of where you guys have come from.
Yeah, for sure.
Heather, I'm curious, you sound like you had kind of a moment in which you decided to, like, almost in a way own your own journey, both in terms of the food, and then, I don't know if running or activity, was that as well. What do you think happened? I mean, I know you had the surgery and whatnot, but what do you think happened inside of you as you're watching Tim that changed so that it became yours, that it wasn't just Tim's and things were happening for you as a result of it, but that you essentially became in the driver's seat? Nobody was in your driver's seat yesterday as you're running the marathon. It's up to you to get those miles in. So what changed for you over time so that you really took, you took it on as your own journey?
I just found that I liked running, and I found that I wanted to do things. I wanted to do my things too, and I wanted to also join in with him and with the running and stuff. But I wanted people to see that you can change, and there's things you can do.
If tomorrow I said, you know what, I lost 200 pounds, I feel great, let's get pizza and wings.
No.
What would your answer be?
No.
But I'm telling you, it's okay now. We can do it.
I'm not gonna though.
How come? Why won't you?
Because I don't want to, and I'm healthy now, and I feel great. And I know it's not good, and it's not gonna make you feel good, and it's gonna make you unhealthy.
Even if I'm doing it.
Even if you're doing it.
It's funny. I say that, but it was kind of like I never I never really pushed plant-based stuff on you or whatever. I kind of just did my own thing.
Because I still was over 2 years ago, I was still having these 3 little Timbits that I was hanging on to. They're little donut holes we have here. And I was having some issues with my hand, and I realized that just by having those 3 little donuts, I was getting like arthritis in my hands, and I knew they weren't healthy for me. So I just took it upon myself that I wanted to make sure that everything I was eating healthy and taking care of myself, because I wanted to take care of myself for Tim and for our kids.
So the answer to your question, what I think you're saying is, it became hers when she saw the results. Like sometimes you think by what you eat is just a coincidence of how you feel, and then after like the 4th coincidence of eating the same exact thing, feeling the same way, you start thinking, yeah, maybe those Timbits are messing with my hands, or pretzels. She's got a thing with pretzels too, where her hands get weird, and so I think where it became like her own identity is when she understood the results of, like, it's not just talk, it's not just hype that to be healthy, it's actually a thing, it's a real thing with real results. And it's funny when you're asking that, I can't help thinking that I didn't push the plant-based thing at all, but then when she went plant-based, like, she went crazy. Like, for me, it was a little bit gradual. It wasn't so much gradual as I did what I knew I was supposed to do, but I didn't know everything I was supposed to do. Things like the corn chips were plant-based, but they're not whole food. They had oil in them. So we just ate them. But then all of a sudden, she flips a switch. She goes like 100% in. And like I would eat something and she'd go, there's salt on that, right? And I'm like, seriously? Like, do you know who you're talking to? Like, seriously? And that's what, like, that day, I'm like, this is really her. Like, she's not just doing this because someone else is doing it. Like, it really, she's correcting me for having salt. So it's kind of cool to watch, actually.
For a lot of people who, know you guys, food is heavily associated with that. I know you have a Amazon best-selling cookbook now, and your Instagram, Facebook feed's always kind of full of it. When did that kind of turn outward so that it wasn't just what you were making, for you and y'all were eating it, but then it became like something that you were really associated with?
My brother-in-law, he, like, every time we went like to something, because I was excited about, this was a long time ago, I was really excited about food. Like more than ever. And we would be at a family function. I'm like, oh my gosh, you should see these cauliflower wings. And my brother-in-law looked at me and he kind of rolled his eyes and he goes, I saw them. Everyone saw them on Facebook. And I had like 200 friends on Facebook, and that was like the peak of my social media. Like, that was it. And I'm like, I was kind of hurt. Like, I don't want to, I hope AJ doesn't hear this. I was kind of hurt. I'm like, dude, I'm so excited about this. What do you mean you saw, your eye roll and you saw it? So then my sister-in-law says, you should start a blog, and then you can put that stuff somewhere else. And only people that want to see it will see it. So I'm like, all right. So I had no clue what I was doing. So I bought a website, and then I'm like, the girls at work named it, because I had like 3 options, and they picked one, and it was Fat Man Rants, because I was ranting. I was mad. I was mad at AJ. I was ranting. Why couldn't people eat like this? Like, it's so good. And everyone's telling me all this stuff, and I was on these rants because I was a lot meaner. But so then I did the Facebook page, and you know who one of my first followers was? AJ. The same brother-in-law that told me to get out of there starts following the page, and I'm like, dude, you could have saved me like 10 YouTube videos how to do this. Um, and it just kind of got to be a thing. Like I didn't want, I literally just wanted like 50 people would have been cool over there just so I could post my food. And do you know, to this day, I still, like, if you look at my personal page, I don't really put a lot of plant-based stuff on there, but I know that 90% of the people that follow me are my plant-based friends. But like, I separate the two still just because I always have. But now I think there's what, 12 or 13,000 people on the page, and I don't even know how many on the website. And but it's fun. So, but what I found out is that for me, because I'm a teacher, so like my thing is like lecture. I can show you a PowerPoint, but that's not what people really need. Like, people always reach out like they don't know how to cook, and for me, it's not cooking. It's like throw stuff together, simple, fast stuff. And so that's why I post all the food. Just stupid stuff, open the fridge, throw it together, and it comes out to be a delicious meal.
It's something that I wish we would have had years ago when the kids were little. I mean, it's that easy now that I wish we would have known that, other than just when the kids were little, here, have a Pop-Tart. I mean, really, they could have had oatmeal and a banana, and they would have been way healthier and way more satisfied than the junk that I was giving them.
Yeah, right. And if we would have looked at a can of oats, like, what do you do with these? Like, what is this, bird seed? But yeah, you're right. I never thought of it like that. It's easier to get a Lego waffle out, but it's really not. Like, that's in your head. But really, to put a scoop of oatmeal and some plant milk with some blueberries, like, it can't get any more simple than that, you know? And it's cheap, too.
So, you know, education, you're an educator. Education has kind of become a big part. Both of you guys, you know, you're way more. I remember hearing you talk about you really liked your little life in a small little town and people didn't bother you. And, you know, life looks a lot different for y'all now. But, you know, you've kind of gotten into a space where you do share your story a lot, whether that's from a stage or, you know, in a lot of small group kind of settings. How did the educational part get started for you, and what does that look like now?
I kid around saying that, you know, like I walked in. Well, we do community ed classes. It was supposed to be my thing, and then Heather actually helps out, which is kind of funny. Like, seeing her cook in front of people because she doesn't cook, but it's cool. She helps like prep and stuff.
I learned how to use the Instapot.
Yeah, she does the lesson on Instapot, and it's good though, because someone that doesn't cook can use the Instapot. Like, there's no, if Heather can do
in
cooking,
the air fryer, we tease and say it's my easy bake oven.
But if seriously, like, it's kind of a good thing to people to see it. And I make a joke out of it, we laugh about, but it's actually true. Like, you don't have to know how to cook to eat this way. I will say that if you're gonna do the plant-based thing, you really need to be able to cook, but it has to be simple stuff. But anyways, I walked in, and we got our classroom, and they decided it's easier to put us in the middle school, which I teach high school, mostly seniors. Well, they put us in the middle school, and I didn't even know they teach home ec anymore. But she goes, oh, yeah, there's ovens and everything. And I walk into this room, and I'm like, there's sewing machines. Like, I'm teaching, there's sewing machines, and I like, this is crazy. This is not me. So it was definitely not in my comfort zone. I never wanted to teach people how to cook. But to answer your question, I think me and you were talking about this one time. And we said, you know, when you get on this side of plant-based and you realize what you have, you know, what you've gained, what you've been given, it's kind of, I think you made this analogy one time. It's like you're on the other side of the door with the door open, and you're like at this party, and you're trying to get people to come over. Are you the one that said that to me? And you're trying to get people to come over to this party. And I think when you realize how life-changing this stuff is, how simple it is, but how profound and life-changing it is, like, you want to help people get there. And I think, this is a very long answer to your question, but I think for me, the more, kind of like my journey on my own, the journey to help other people, isn't as glamorous as I thought it was. And I mean, it will be really nice to type a nice blog post up, tell people everything it does, and then have them go do their own thing. But a lot of people just can't, like, they have nothing to go on. So I think I stumbled around trying to help people, and I see, like, I'd invest so much time in someone, and they would just, like, whatever, because they can't handle it. They can't. So for me, the thing is education. Like, the before and afters are glamorous. The motivation is great, but all that stuff is, like, short term. So the hard work is teaching people what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, and then why. Like, you can't just tell someone, don't eat coconut oil. Why? Because I said so. It's not going to fly, because someone's going to come up with some research that says how wonderful it is, and they have, oh, okay, well, Tim must have been wrong. So the thing is, like, the teaching and the education and stuff, that's critical for people in their own journeys. It's a pain in the butt. It takes me, like, I'm telling you, like, I get 30 some messages in the morning that I answer before I even get out of bed. Just people wanting to know questions and answers, and it's a pain. But I think it's super important. And we talk about this. Like, I'm not going to start crying, but we'll go somewhere, we'll travel a long ways, and maybe the crowd, there's like 10 or 15 people, and you get I'm tired, like, I give my presentation out, but we realize that if it's one person, like, if one person changes, that one person could have been me. And I look at my life and how it's affected your life and the kids and our neighbor, like, everyone around us. Like, if I reach that one person, if that's all I do till the day I die is reach one person to change their life, like, what's my life worth? And I keep that in my head when I get frustrated. That one more question that I'm answering could have been me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's huge. What does life look like for you guys these days in terms of food and things like that? Because people are always curious. People always want to know. Take us through a day of eating with you guys. It's easy to think that you have these large extravagant meals, but you're talking about you have lots of quick and dirty, easy things. So take me through a day in food with you guys, because people are always curious about the food.
So this is kind of cool because we actually eat a little differently, I think.
I am not a big breakfast person, so I might just have like a banana or take a banana and an apple in the morning when I leave, and I do have coffee. That's my first thing that I have to have. And so that's usually what I have in the morning for breakfast. But like on the weekends when Tim's home, we might, have a bigger breakfast with potatoes and veggies.
Banana pancakes.
Or banana pancake, normal breakfast stuff that's healthy. For lunch, it just varies. Maybe a salad, or I might come home and have a bunch of potatoes, just fruits, vegetables. Maybe if there's leftover rice or something, I would have that for lunch. I'm not, real picky. Whatever there, that's what I'll have. And then for dinner, it's whatever. Tim usually still cooks the dinners. He's a lot better at it and a lot faster at it than me. So, and he likes to do different things. So whatever he makes, that's what I'll have at night.
To a point.
Yeah, pretty much. I might.
I feel like I like grains more, and you don't really.
I'm not. Yeah,
she's not into the grain. I made rice tonight, and she's like, I'd rather have potatoes. She loves potatoes. We could have potatoes 3 times a day.
But I still ate it. I had mushrooms and
it's because that's all there
cabbage
was,
and stuff. But yeah, so I had that.
Yeah, but I feel like I crave grains, and I think that's why I'm hanging on to weight as well. And I think that's why you're so successful, because you automatically limit the grains, but just by default, because you don't really have a taste for them. I crave like grains.
And I'd rather have a huge salad for dinner with, everything.
Yeah, but when you say salad, it's
not just leaves. It's a hearty, good filled salad with veggies. And then I might have, if Tim does make rice, then I might put rice or beans on top. On top.
So because just so your listeners know, salad for us used to be maybe a few strips of iceberg, and then all this like meat, cheese, all that kind of stuff, and then just drenched in ranch dressing, like bottles of it. But that's not what we're talking about. So one of our favorite things, and actually for a while, me and her would actually probably more than that. We would almost eat a pound of greens, each, depending on how we did it. For sure, a half a pound of greens. We were really good at that, and I think we still are. Yeah. But how it works is we chop them so they're small, and then a whole bunch of we've been lazy. We've been buying like shredded broccoli, shredded carrots, shredded red cabbage, and that's kind of heavy, dense stuff. I'll cut up an onion real fine, some celery, cucumber, little tomato. And then what I do is I take a can of like beans, like whatever, white beans or chickpeas or whatever, and I don't drain them. And I put them in the blender with some garlic or dill or whatever, and I spin them up so it's almost like a thinned out hummus. Then I dump that on the salad and kind of work that in, and that's our salad. So it's, I mean, it weighs pounds. Like it's a big, like you are not hungry when you eat a salad. I don't even like calling it a salad, but yeah. But that's one thing that we eat together. And then I eat potatoes too, but she's definitely more into potatoes than I am.
Because I like fries.
She loves French fries. This sounds disgusting, but for dinner, it's nothing for us to eat a 5-pound bag of potatoes. Like I get a whole 5-pound bag of potatoes, and they are gone. It's just the two of us. It's almost embarrassing.
Don't worry, no one's listening. I won't tell anybody. You guys have both come so far, but you talk about not being finished. Being uncertain of what the future looks like, whether it's back to doing 5Ks or it's running or not running. What keeps you motivated these days to keep pressing on, just in your health journey, period?
You want this one?
Well, I don't ever want to go back to where we were before, and I've seen what this lifestyle can do, and I don't ever want to go back, and I know it's the right way and the healthy way, and I want to stay healthy. If I can do something about my health, that's what I want to do, is take care of it.
And that's your motivation.
That's my motivation.
Yeah. I hate motivation with a passion. And that's one of those things that when I started, I don't want to say teaching, but when I started trying to teach people how to do this, that was the biggest hang up for people. Like I can't get motivation. And so I started looking for ways to get people motivated. And you can go back in my feed and see, I think I asked you for pictures a few times where before and afters, and I would just flash all these before and afters, and people would go, whoa, that's crazy. But here's the problem with that. Like, it's gone. Like, I know you, but like, you can show me before and after of someone, and I'll be like, holy crap, that's awesome. Like, somebody like Justin Lacey, 300 pounds, that's insane. Like, I only have 100 pounds to lose, or whatever. Do whatever you want to set it up. But, Justin Lacey, most people don't know him. And, 2 days after they see it, they're sitting down and they have to order at a restaurant. And the motivation's gone. So just the idea of motivation, I can't stand it. The inspiration, I can't stand it. These are all emotional things. And they feel really good. They feel really good. And maybe that's another problem. Maybe they feel so good that it's like we did something because we're motivated. But like if you put it in perspective with the rest of your life, none of it makes sense. Like the whole thing doesn't make sense. I am never motivated to love you any less or more. Like I'm just not. Like, it's my job to love her. Like, it's what I do. And there's some days it's hard. Some days it's really hard. But I still do it because that's my job. The mortgage company, like if I can't imagine if they called for their money and I'm like, yeah, I was motivated last week. Like, I got a really nice bonus, but I'm not motivated this week, and I'm sorry. Like, can you just wait until I'm motivated again? I fell off the wagon. Kids, like, you tell your kids to do their homework, and they're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. Like, I felt it last week for a little bit, but it's gone. Like, we don't function like that. Anything in life that we care about, we don't need motivation for. You don't, I mean, I tell my students this at school, like, it's a joke. It's a Kaufman joke that, when no one is motivated or no one feels like cleaning baby diapers, like, no one wants to scrape green poop off a kid, we don't have to be motivated. That's what we do. Like, that's our responsibility. So all that said, if you're looking for motivation, stop. Look in the mirror. I guess the best way to understand motivation is look in the mirror and find the person looking back is worth working for, is worth changing for. And nothing else matters than that. If you're worth it, you're worth going down that road. It's not going to be easy. It's simple, but it's not going to be easy, but you're worth it. And you don't need the motivation. It's your job. It's your job. That's the way I see it.
Well, I think you've successfully answered without me asking my last couple questions. So, maybe in closing, where can people connect with you guys, keep up with what you're up to, and maybe even buy your ebook if they're so inclined?
Well, fatmanrants. Basically anything fatmanrants.com, Instagram. I think I tweet like every day, but I've never actually been on Twitter. I don't know. I have an app that does that. But yeah, my website, you can read my blog posts, and Instagram, Facebook. My personal page kind of isn't so personal anymore. And then
mine's Facebook or Instagram, and it's Heather Barlow Kaufman for Facebook, and Instagram is, I think, just Heather Kaufman. I am on that too, but not as much as Facebook.
She's very inspirational, by the way. Sorry.
You're going to get yourself into trouble, sir.
No, but she posts very good quotes that make you think. It's very cool. She doesn't post the food that she cooks, though.
Because I don't cook. That's your job.
Yeah.
She probably doesn't post all the dishes she cleans up after you, though, either.
Exactly.
She cleans a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Well, great. Well, as I've told someone before, if any indication of the last 2 years of knowing you guys gives me any indication of what's to come, I can't wait to see what's in store for you guys and for everything you're involved with. So I appreciate the time, and I look forward to catching up with you guys very soon. Thanks for joining me for this 100th episode, and I look forward to many, many more. And you guys keep doing what you're doing. Y'all are awesome.
Thank you,
I thank you.
You are too.
Yeah, and I thought we were going to talk about the film, but we didn't.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I guess I kind of have an announcement of sorts. I'll be releasing today also the new trailer with our final subject, Denise Norris, who also is probably lost 300-ish pounds. She doesn't really know, and another incredible story to add to the other three with Josh LaJaunie, Tim Kaufman, Melita Besson, and then finally Denise Norris. So I'll be releasing that today in tandem with this podcast. Gives you an idea of the final cast of characters, and can't wait to see that actually come to fruition in a bigger way. But kind of giving a preview on that today to round out this 100th episode celebration.
Yeah, and we are super excited.
Very excited.
This film, like, I was hoping you'd ask questions, but I'm just going to say it anyways. This film, when you first came to me, it was weird.
Wait, hold on. What was my nickname?
Well, not from me, from her.
The axe murderer.
I don't think you were called the axe murderer. It was just question.
That's what Tim was implying.
It was just question. Like, he could be an axe murderer. But yeah,
you're my friend now.
Yeah, and that, honestly, that's what I was gonna kind of say. Like, this film project, because I had no clue. You were just some guy that called from Louisiana, and I kind of didn't know what to expect. Like, it was the whole experience. Like, I thought it would be just that experience of getting filmed, and that was all cool. And then, something so much bigger than a film came from this. And so first of all, thank you for the film. It's super cool. But, from my perspective, I know the film is going to change. Like, I can't even comprehend how many people's lives it's going to impact. It is crazy. But the film itself, for me, I am so thankful, and it has nothing to do with the film. Like, the friendships and the connections that we have made out of this have been, like, it's been the craziest experience. Like, yeah, like,
your family.
All of you, all of you. Josh and Nalita and Denise and Jamie, and it's honestly been one of the coolest things that's ever happened to us. And it has nothing to do with the film, and that's like so cool. So, like, you're one of my best friends, man, and that's crazy.
Well, thanks for that. Well, like I said, if the last 2 years have been any idea of what's to come, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, and I've actually never seen you holding an axe, so we're good.
Let me look around here. I might have one. Well, thanks again, guys, for the time, and I'll see you guys very, very soon, and thanks again.
Yeah,
see you soon.
See ya.